Hello, Nantucket. I'm Natalie Ciminero, your host for the wellness portion of Nantucket Pulse programming, made possible by Nantucket Cottage Hospital Community Health Initiative. Nantucket Pulse Wellness Program highlights essential resources to help us balance our new way of living, taking care of ourselves, each other, and connecting to those who can help us during this time. This week, we are joined again by Tess Alberdi, Executive Director of Fairwinds Nantucket Counseling Center. She's going to discuss Progressive Muscle Relaxation, an anxiety reduction technique first introduced by American physician Edmund Jacobson in the 1930s. This technique involves alternating tension and relaxation in all of the body's major muscle groups. If you practice this technique correctly, you may even end up falling asleep. Tess will demonstrate by teaching some of these techniques to Robin London, Fairwinds Advancement Assistant. And she's also going to give us a quick overview of how anxiety can negatively affect physical health and well-being. And she'll tell us about some free apps available for our smartphones to address anxiety. Let's take a look.
Hi, this is Tess Alberdi from Fairwinds, Nantucket's Counseling Center, back on Pulse TV to offer some support for our community. I want to start by saying thank you so much for having us back. And I know that many of us have had lots of thoughts around anxiety and what's happening and the very different times that we're in with stay-at-home orders. I know this might have many of you seeing a lot more of your families than you previously had, or your roommates, or some of you being alone in isolation and how hard that can be. I also know that many of us on island have been impacted by work demands changing, moving to virtual, which can be a learning curve, as well as some people being furloughed and not working at all. And with all of these changes comes challenge. And I'm here today to give another way that we can help with that. We're going to be going over a really basic, easy technique to help deal with anxiety. Before we jump in, I want to remind everyone about free resources Monday through Friday at Fairwinds, where you can virtually, just like this, Zoom in and have some support. So you'll see the flyer behind me, which you can access on our website, fairwindcenter.org, or on social media, Instagram and Facebook, as well as hopefully an e-blast where you've got it. From 5 to 6, Monday through Friday, you click this link up here. It's the same link, and every night is a different topic. No need to sign up ahead of time, no need for insurance. We're just happy to offer some clinical support to help you and your family stay healthy and well. 2 great new additions, just starting this next week, is we're going to be having an anxiety management group called Creating Calm, offered in Spanish on Mondays, as well as a teen recovery group. So that will be on Thursdays for ages 14 to 21, really thinking about making healthy decisions, not using substances. So I just want to remind everyone, please check out our website as well as social media. Log into a group for free, see what it feels like, see that you are not alone in this community, that Fairwind's here to help you. And also know that when you call 508-228-2689, it would always be picked up by a live person and able to offer you support. We have clinical openings and we're taking new clients. So I am going to be covering what would look like a virtual session with a dear friend of mine, Robin London. She is our advancement assistant. And what would happen as a virtual therapy appointment is I would send somebody a GoToMeeting link, and that would be via text or email. And then we would get in front of our smartphone or our computer, and the person would immediately pop on. So let's practice this. By Robin, can you join us for today's session?
Yes.
Hi, Robin. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. I want to remind everyone, Robin is not a client. Robin is a beloved staff member at Fairwinds. She's our advancement assistant, and she's here modeling and role modeling what we're going to be covering today. So just want to remind everyone, this is not a client. This is lovely Robin. So, Robin, have you been in these new, different times on island? You recently moved to the island, lots of big changes. What's your anxiety been like?
I think since I moved here, it's just about 3 months now. I was so calm moving here because I was so excited. And then everything set in with the reality of a new job, learning everything new, finding housing, waiting for the rest of my family to come, nervous every day to do a good job at work. And that calmness I came with started creeping up and becoming a lot more anxiety than I ever would have thought I would have had moving to my happy place. And then shortly afterwards, about 6 weeks after that, everything we're going through now struck. So then the anxiety creeped up in a whole new way at a whole other level.
Yeah.
And I had a job. I found a place to move into. So that made the anxiety soften, but it still existed because of all the other things going on. Will I still have the job? Am I going to get sick? How am I going to deal? Am I going to be able to work from home? Will my family make it here who hadn't even been here yet? So no matter how much positive was going on, there was still always stress and anxiety.
Whew. Robin, I hear you. And that is a lot. And you crammed a lot of life into those short months. And I think anybody in your shoes, and I think there are a lot of people right now in your shoes, would have felt the exact same way. I think what you just explained is extremely anxiety producing. Moving to a new island. And a lot of people in Nantucket, this is the season to do so. Then you're talking about housing. Then you're talking about a new job starting. A lot of our workforce on Nantucket really open up April through September, creating these new beautiful restaurants and lots of building. I think your story is something very similar that a lot of people feel, and I personally feel for you that constant anxiety is exhausting and hard. You've managed it beautifully, but that doesn't change your story. It's been difficult. It's been difficult.
It has. And even though, someone might be listening to it and saying, oh, but you have a job and you were able to find housing you could afford. That is true. So I'm not going to deny that. But on the flip side, again, like I said, I still want to do a good job at work and I have a lot to learn. I still want to get my family over here who was, wrapping up everything in our old world. And I was selling a house back home that now, how do we close on a house when no one's allowed to be in the same room as anybody? Yeah. So for everything positive, and it was a lot of positive, I'm not going to deny that, there was still other things. It wasn't just, wow, I landed here, I'm happy, and things are perfect.
Yeah. And I think you're doing a beautiful job reframing and seeing the silver lining of this. But I think the component is everybody has anxiety. It's kept us safe. It's a good thing. It helps us with that gut instinct to make healthy decisions for us. But what happens when that anxiety that was singular and situational becomes ever present, right? And I think that's what a lot of people are feeling. And that's what we're going to kind of practice and role model today is, what about the constant thoughts that I just can't shake it, that those thoughts are ruminating and perseverating on that? What if it's keeping me up at night and then I wake up feeling anxious and overwhelmed? What if I'm wringing my hands? And we got to remember, for kids with anxiety, that's coming up as stomach aches. Mm-hmm. I feel achy, I'm not feeling like eating. Parents could say, well, they're just picky eaters. Or maybe it's just because we're home and we're off schedule. But we also have to recognize that some people might not be able to say, I feel anxious, I feel overwhelmed. We also see that some adults, and any age person really, anxiety can turn into anger, short-tempered, irritability, quick to have that fuse. I don't minimize how big this is across the world, nationally, and very much home in Nantucket for us, that this COVID stay-at-home order has big ramifications. And we see that people are getting a little irritated, a little frustrated, but the core component of that is anxiety, feeling anxious about the what ifs. So you were great last time, Robin, when we did this role play and we went over deep breathing, right? Where we were just kind of learning how to sit in our body, being mindful of the breath coming in through our nose and out through our mouth, and being really present about expanding our diaphragm and kind of easing into our body. Have you used that technique since we last did this?
Actually, I have, because there's times I notice, like, I wake up in the middle of the night and I think I can't sleep because I'm having dreams and thoughts about work. And I find myself waking up like with my heart really racing.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, deep breath. That's like the first thing to try and like lower my blood pressure, lower the racing that's going on. And I feel it throughout my whole body. And as soon as I just take a deep breath and I keep my eyes closed and I realize I'm still safe, I'm in my house, I just have to calm down for a minute. And it really helps.
Good, good. And I just think that that's just a great example, again, of that parasympathetic to sympathetic response in the brain, right? Where you're kind of flipping that lid, that brain hand model, where you're cognizant that something is wrong, you're slowing down, but that hindbrain that goes to all of your body functions, my heart's racing, I woke up in a panic, it felt in your brain full on. This is a fight or flight response. That is what anxiety does, and it woke you up for it. So I'm so glad that something that was quick, free, and accessible, such as being aware and watching your breath in a moment, could help. So I commend you on practicing it and identifying it. That's awesome.
Yeah. I even noticed myself, and I've talked to you about this, one of my dogs is a puppy and she still needs to get out, and I can't get her to a fenced in area to run. Doesn't sound like that big a deal. So I've been trying to run with her. And I get so angry sometimes because she's pulling and she's bucking and she won't listen to me. And today I said, I'm going to stop. I'm going to let her calm down. All of a sudden I calm down.
Yeah.
You know, because I know the whole thing. If you're not calm, your dog can't be calm, or your children can't be calm. And just, if we have to walk and just breathe, then we're not going to run. We'll just walk.
Yep.
Everything comes.
And what we were thinking here at Fairwinds is we were going to start kind of scaffolding, building these different skills on each of these things. We were starting with the most basic, deep breathing. Today, we're going to go over progressive muscle relaxation, PMR. And in the future, we can talk about all of these other techniques that could be, just like you're saying, muscles that we practice and we get stronger at and we use. And your analogy of how you are with your fur baby, your doggy, is also how parents are with their kids and us as adults with our older aging parents, right? If we take a moment to take a deep breath, if we remember what we bring to a situation, the outcomes can be amazing. If we don't, and that anxiety ramps up and it turns into being a little short-tempered, a little frustrated, less patient, we know that that doesn't go the direction we want it to. So thank you for sharing that example and just recognizing some of that could be anxiety and just slowing down in a moment.
Yeah, totally.
Great. So the second technique we're going over today is progressive muscle relaxation. This is an age-old technique that is drawn on from lots of different types of healing. And what it's doing is a way where a person can be taught to self-monitor where anxiety is held in their body. And then we do an exercise that scans the body, clenching muscles and then releasing them to create awareness of how we hold anxiety in the body, but how good it feels when we let it go. Mm-hmm. So the concept has been used for pain management. It works with insomnia. It works on anxiety. But across the board, when you create a mind-body connection, it's always for the better. So this is something that you could use for lots of different techniques. When you were with me last time, you were talking about, gosh, when I get really anxious, I start to, my jaw starts hurting, I start grinding my teeth, I get a temporal pressure headache, right? Where do you feel anxiety in your body commonly?
I think that because I've become so much more aware of it, like biting down and the clamping on my jaw, I've been really aware of it. So that hasn't been as bad as in the past. Yep. But I do find myself doing this with my hands now.
Your hands, clenching.
Hands. And then automatically, like, my shoulders go up. So, like, my upper body a lot.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. That's, again, your body tricking your subconscious into thinking, I have to be ready for fight or flight, right? Clenching fists, clenching and proposing an aggressive stance if I have to protect myself. Mm-hmm. So without even knowing, you're saying, I'm not thinking about that. My prefrontal cortex isn't thinking about that, but my brain and my body are responding to anxiety in a way that can be painful, it can be sore, it can be exhaustive. Great. So technique number one is we like to scale how you're feeling. We're going to ask you where the stress might be. And then we're going to go into the exercise and we're going to do the exact opposite. We're going to say, how does those body parts feel and what's your stress level? So I think it's really helpful with kids or any age person to scale how intense feelings are. So 0, no anxiety at all. 10, the most anxiety I feel. What's your number today?
I guess probably like a 5,
Okay.
middle of the road. It's Friday, so that's a good thing, but I still have some work I got to get back to finish off. So
Yeah.
there's a little bit there, pretty moderate.
Okay. But you know what? We don't want 5 as a baseline all the time because we know that that's exhaustive. So 5 is still pretty high. And we just kind of went through and you said, I've been clenching my hands. I've been feeling it in my arms. And historically, it's the temporal headache and the jaws, right?
Right.
Okay. So what we hope at the end of this, and you can't fib to me, you gotta tell me the truth, is at the end of this, we hope that that number goes lower. And with practice, and when you use it regularly in life, it consistently ends up being lower for you because you're going to create the insight, you're going to create the muscle memory, that neuroplasticity to practice the skill.
Okay.
So now we're going to get into how you do it. This is going to be really easy. This is going to be something that your partner on the couch doesn't even know you're doing. And I think that's also a really great thing, that this is something that could be translated to when you're back in the office or when you're out somewhere, that you can bring mindfulness back to your body. I'm going to ask you to have both feet kind of firmly planted on the floor, and find a good place in your sits bone where you feel kind of comfortable. You're going to have your hands loosely in your lap. And then what feels comfortable for you, maybe looking down towards your knees or closing your eyes, whatever feels good. We're going to start by taking a deep breath in through your nose, filling up your chest and your diaphragm, and slowly breathing out through your mouth. Good job. You're going to start by taking a couple deep breaths in through your nose, relaxing your shoulders, and breathing out through your mouth. I see with each breath in, your shoulders going down. Deep breath in through your nose, feeling your diaphragm expand, and breathing out through your mouth. I'm going to ask you to keep breathing at your own pace, at your own rhythm in that fashion. So breathing in through your nose, and when you're ready, you're releasing your breath out through your mouth. Robin, I'm going to direct your mind's attention to your feet that are planted firmly on the ground. And I'm going to ask you to do a series of squeezing a muscle for a few seconds very tightly, and then relaxing your muscles for a few seconds. And that entire time, when we go through each of these muscles, I want you to really focus on how intense the muscle feeling tight is. And I want you to notice the relaxation or the loss of tension when you release that. So we're going to start with the toes, and we're going to move up through your shoulders or head. So we're going to start with closing your toes and your feet and squeezing them as tight as you possibly can, turning them into little balls, feeling your toes up against your soles, squinching your feet in. And then I'm going to ask you to relax them. You're noticing your breath coming in and out as you relax your feet. We're going to move up to your calves. I'm going to ask you to squeeze your calves. You might even stand on the balls of your feet as you squeeze them. I want your legs to feel tight from your ankle to your knee, trying to squeeze all of those muscles, noticing them tremble or hurt. And then I'm going to ask you to relax and drop your heels to the floor, taking a breath in and noticing the relaxation that came with your calves and your feet. You're going to then do your big your quads, your muscles in your thighs. I'm going to ask you to squeeze your hamstrings, your glutes, upper part of your legs, from your knees to the tops of your hips. You're squeezing them. You might press your knees together. And then you're going to relax them. And you're going to notice your breath when you breathe out, taking some of that stress with you. Noticing that from your hips, through your thighs, to your knees, to your calves, to your feet, are relaxed and calmly planted on the floor. I'm going to ask you to squeeze in your diaphragm, your stomach muscles. I'm going to ask you to imagine pulling your tummy button into the back of your spine, squeezing the center part of your body, tightening and constricting yourself, feeling all of that stress, and with a big breath, I want you to blow it out through your mouth. Relaxing your stomach muscles, relaxing your sides, your abdomen, relaxing your diaphragm. Taking a breath in through the nose, and this time fully breathing out and into your diaphragm, recognizing there's no tension held there. Then I'm going to ask you to be mindful of your hands and go to clenching them, putting them in two balls, putting them in fists with your thumbs over your fingers, tightly squeezing them with your nails against your palm, holding them tight, and with a breath out, relaxing them, releasing them, spreading out your fingers. With your next breath in, I'm going to ask you to squeeze your hands through your forearms, all the way to your elbows. From your hands to your wrist to your forearms, squeezing them tight, possibly squeezing them against your body, holding them tight, noticing how that feels, the tension that you feel. And with a breath out, I'd like you to relax all of them. Relax your hand, relax your forearm, feel your elbows drop. Next, I want you to imagine your shoulders, and you're going to squeeze them tightly, bringing them up to your ears, up through your neck, all the way up, holding your body tight, squeezing it. And with this time, I want you to relax and drop your shoulders, rolling your shoulders back, pulling yourself tall in your sit bone, noticing your posture, relaxing as you stretch your neck and your shoulders down, the lack of tension there. Perfect, perfect. As you're releasing the stress in your neck and shoulders, our last one is going to be clenching our teeth, clenching our cheeks and our neck. I want you to, this time, tighten as much as your neck and your face as you can, maybe holding your teeth tight, your eyes squint shut. And this time when you breathe out, relaxing your eyebrows, relaxing your mouth, relaxing your neck against your chin, rolling your neck from side to side, and feeling some of that tension dissipate. I'm going to ask you to take a couple more breaths on your own, and in your head doing a mental scan from the top of your head through your neck, through your shoulders, your arms, your legs, your calves and your feet, and scanning for any anxiety you feel, and you might wiggle it out. But with each deep breath, envisioning the stress leaving that part of that tight muscle, and envisioning that very relaxed feeling you just felt a few moments ago. I'm going to ask you to do one more deep breath in, expanding your diaphragm, breathing out through your mouth, blowing out candles. And when you're ready, bringing your gaze back. Hi. Welcome back. Okay, so we'll start with how was that? What did it feel like? How do you feel now?
Good. I worked up a little bit of a sweat because I was in a good way, because I was concentrating on the clenching in all the areas.
Yeah.
Two things I noticed as I worked my way up the body from the toes.
Yep.
Each body part going up, I was able to get deeper in my breath.
Yeah.
Then you really start to concentrate on what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you could get deeper. And as well as I relaxed each muscle, I was able to get deeper too. So the first thing with my toes, I think I felt like my shoulders were clenching too. Couldn't breathe in as much or exhale as much. Yeah. But as you release each thing, you realize if you really listen to what you're saying,
Yeah.
and just do it. You breathe deeper, you clench only that, and it's a more relaxing feeling on the exhale.
Yeah. Well, I thought you did a wonderful job. And what I could see was, again, you kind of getting more into yourself, as you said, kind of really listening to the words. And that's a practice, right? That's not something we easily do. It is so hard to slow our mind down from click, 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 click. I have to do this. I have to do this. What about this? How much time does this take?
Right.
So I just want to normalize that to get in our head, it takes a minute. Right?
Yeah.
And it is very common to start with the feet, but some people notice their stress immediately starting at their head, and they're going to work head down, right?
Right.
And when you practice this, as you said, like I got a little bit of a sweat, I got a little bit of a workout. That's me for the day. That was all my workout. Is that you'll get more isolated in strengthening those muscles, but also more aware and creating that awareness of what they feel like relaxed. And when some people who have never had a conversation with a therapist, or maybe not done yoga work or body work, they didn't actually have any concept that they were holding anxiety in their body, right? Because that was their norm. My shoulders were always tense. I always have my hands and tight balls that are sweating, and my stomach always feels anxious. But that insight of what it could feel to not feel that way is a wonderful thing as an incentive to keep practicing.
No, it is, because when you're more aware, sometimes you're clenching, you're tight, you're whatever, and then you just kind of like shake it out.
Yep.
You're not really doing the breathing part with it.
Yep.
And if you just stop, like I did last night, to actually be aware of breathing while shaking it out or just letting it go, it creates a whole different feeling.
And we want them both, right? We want the breath work with the body work, because if you stop breathing, right, which was what happens with anxiety, we have that shortness of breath, then our heart is telling our brain, uh-oh, this is not good, which ramps up anxiety. So it's why we really want to I want to be mindful of the breath. I want you to be thinking about the stress leaving your body, because it's getting your prefrontal cortex and your hindbrain synced up. Your body and your mind are all telling it to relax and to calm down, right? So when we practice this, we know that we will become more insightful of, wow, my shoulders are really tense. That means I have high stress. We're seeing it as a way to create an internal body scan so that you can send up a yellow flag, uh-oh, stress is getting high, before it gets to a red flag. I just really was short tempered. I just got a fight with my spouse. So the idea is that if we can create mindfulness around when our anxiety gets high, then we learn tools to use it and bring it down.
It makes so much sense, because also if you're aware of it when it's happening or before it gets to that red zone, okay, then your mind maybe doesn't go to that other stressful thing that is right there, like in the batter box, waiting to come out.
Absolutely.
Prevent it, and then the escalation even more if you just stay in that moment and try.
And when I think about what clinical therapy is, it's kind of like the tip of the iceberg, and we know the iceberg's much bigger. We're talking about little skills that anybody could use and benefit from. What deep therapy works on is, where does all those core beliefs come from? Where does the brain continue to go to? Let's stop patterns of behavior. And that's why we have openings at Fairwinds where people can come in and see a therapist and work on some of the deeper issues. But some of us just benefit from the very top of the iceberg, which is, I just have to remember to take some deep breaths.
Right.
I have to remember where my body is holding stress. And if I'm feeling stressful, I need to do a couple of tools to lower it. Right. And then with practice, it ends up becoming easier and more effective. So there might be a time where I'm at a work meeting that's pretty stressful, and underneath the table, I'm squeezing my hands and I'm relaxing them. And I'm just bringing some mindfulness into, I need to let some of this tension go.
Right.
And it's why one of the great things about PMR, Progressive Muscle Relaxation, is you can do it largely without anybody knowing. So I'm guessing if your partner walked by you, Robin, they'd be like, she's taking a little nap, her eyes are closed, but it's not outwardly noticeable that people might be learning a way to self-regulate, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah. So we went over what is it, what your number was, and where your body scan was. Then we practiced the skill. And then we do the debrief. So you just said, I noticed really getting into it. I noticed feeling less stress as I worked my way up the body. What's your number now? So 0, no anxiety. 10, super high, highest anxiety.
It's funny because I could like right off the bat say 3, not just to like good side. The thought of all the other things I have to do for the day, like it didn't even enter my mind right now because physically I got a little more relaxed.
Yeah.
I'm breathing and I'm like really still listening to what you're saying so that my brain doesn't have the space right now for the other stuff to enter it because I'm concentrating on what I'm doing. And that I think is part of the goal to concentrate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that's monumental. To go from a 5 down to a 3 is a celebrated success. And what this was a very short period of time. So while you and I were practicing this, and this was your first time, it was much longer than had you known, all right, so I know what Tess said. I'm starting at the bottom of my feet. I'm moving to the top. I'm going to be mindful of my breath, and I'm going to squeeze and release. You may be able to do that on your own, unnoticed, under 5 minutes.
Right.
And it's a 5-minute relaxation technique that you could do at work, on your way to work, after a fight, after dinner, before breakfast. I mean, if it changes your number from a 5 out of 10, so stressed out, to a 3 out of 10, that is what we want to go, right? That's where we want to go.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, right?
Sure.
So the last thing I was thinking of, Robin, you did a wonderful job. You are such a great fake patient of ours, is to talk about some other free resources that people can access that I think are a great way to just incorporate into your self-care toolbox. So we always reference it. Everyone's got a toolbox. And one of the tools that people can use, especially as they're staying at home and very much connected to technology, are apps on our smartphone or internet devices. So there are tons and tons of great resources out there. I don't know if you have an Apple phone or an Android phone, but you can go to your store, your Apple store, and you can type in apps, right? So whatever works for you. As a therapist, I usually look for recommendations from large associations that track mental health and substance misuse. So if I go on to the ADAA, the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, they peer review all of them, and what they're going to look for is what's the ease and what it's used for, what's the fidelity of the age model that people should be connected to that feels easy, what's the price point, and what are the common diagnoses that people often go for. When you check that out online, there's some great resources, and I'm just going to identify 2 in particular that are free. Okay. So if you really love apps and you like to put your headphone in your cell phone, and if you're feeling anxious, you can pop your earbuds in and do one of these techniques. That's wonderful. That works for you. I'm fully supportive of it. But if you've never tried it and you just kind of want to see where it's at, why not start with a free one? So the 2 that I'm going to recommend are Mind Shift. And this is really targeted for adolescent, youth, and young people. So the reason it's that particular age group is related to the graphics, the wording, and how they approach and teach people. So it's really targeted for a younger, more kind of hip group than us older people. Completely free. You're going to use it on your phone, and it's interactive, coming up with reminding us around deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, guided imagery, and some thought stopping. The next one is Breathe to Relax. And that's really targeted for adults. And the reason it is it's very black and white. It's very short. No fuss. And what I think that it ends up offering is very similar to what you and I practice, Robin, getting good at remembering to do this skill that is only 2 to 3 minutes. And you can log in, use it regularly. You can set alarms so it comes back and reminds you. And what I love is that that's a tool that you have in your toolbox likely everywhere you go. People are very attached to their cell phones. So if you're feeling anxious about going into the grocery store, you can listen to your app on your phone. If you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm going to a family situation, I want to take a few minutes just to center myself, calm down in a moment, catch my breath, and choose how I want to respond to the situation. So these are 2 great resources. There's tons of other ones out there. If it works for you, it works for us. We're happy about that. But go ahead and check out, if you're a parent, some ones that are age appropriate, and free ones are always a great way to start.
That's true.
Yeah. Right? So any other closing remarks, Robin? Did we forget anything?
Well, you remember the apps. That's a good thing. I'm glad to know that because I don't have any apps. And that interests me because I don't really do a lot of apps on my phone, but sometimes I find it hard to even go on TV and log into like an exercise program, or what time is this one on Zoom, and let me find that. You know, in the course of the day, sometimes you just can't manage to get to the right session at the right time. But if you have it on your phone, like that's something I would probably make some use of.
Yeah.
So that's great to know.
And I'll just remind you that you shared 2 great tips that all of us can use, is getting outside and any kind of exercise. We know those are wonderful ways, completely free, to lower anxiety. We know that we respond really well to vitamin D, and it restarts some serotonin levels, happy hormones in our brain. We also know when we get moving, that's a euphoric feeling, energy begets energy. So you may not know about apps, you do now, but you've been doing 2 wonderful, also really supportive ways to manage mood, anxiety, or depression, is get moving and get outside. So thank you for reminding me some great self-care you're already doing.
And the other thing too is whether you're sitting at home with your family, whether you're able to work from home, if you're just going outside, you're just changing your body position, your body posture. You're just moving in a different way than being so bored on the couch or stuck at a desk. So
yes,
it's really important to move however we do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good point. I guess that's it from Tess and Robin at Fairwinds, Nantucket's Counseling Center. Want to remind everyone that while our doors are closed, we are virtually open every day for our clients, Monday through Friday. You can call 508-228-2689. We offer virtual appointments when it works for you. That does include early morning, later evenings, and weekends. We're accepting new clients, and that's for medication management, outpatient therapy, peer recovery counseling, group therapy, and youth services. So feel free to check out our website, fairwindcenter.org. Catch us on Instagram or Facebook. And don't forget that we have free clinical support groups, 5 to 6, Monday through Friday. Should you ever want to just see what clinical works like, or if it can supplement your current toolbox of self-care, we highly recommend it. And wishing you health and wellness. Thanks for logging on.
Bye.
Bye.
That was great, Tess. I follow along as well, and I do feel much better. So thank you. To watch this episode and get the links to the apps Tess just told us about anytime, look for this episode in the Nantucket Pulse Wellness Series playlist on nctv18.org. You will notice at the end of this episode some local island groups giving rounds of applause to healthcare workers on Nantucket and around the world. If your team is meeting on Zoom or Google Hangouts, please record yourself saying who you are and give a shout out and a round of applause to our frontline heroes, and then send them to us at info@nctv18.org. We will continue with our series aimed at keeping everyone connected and maintaining a healthy balance under the guidance of our local health professionals. That's all for now. I'm Natalie Ciminero, your host of the wellness portion of Nantucket Pulse. I will be back again next week. And in the meantime, remember, too often we may have underestimated the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, a joke, or even the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around. My friends, we're all going to get through this together. So take good care of yourselves and each other.
We want to thank all the essential workers and medical professionals on island and around the world for working hard to keep us safe. Thank you.
We are so very appreciative, and we'd like to clap for you. Thank you for everything you're doing for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.